I was offered a job at a strip club, stripping. I'd never done this sort of work before, but I didn't see any harm in it, so I took it. The strip clubs are very well run. The girls are protected from anyone that sort of might want to have anything to do with them or anything like that. But the pay wasn't enough to meet my expense account, as we'll put it. After all, I had a daughter to support, and first off the big wages, I bought her a bit too much because I got myself into debt. Then an acquaintance I met up the cross offered me a job in a massage parlour as a receptionist. And not being naive country girl, you know, I'd lived up there for quite a while at this stage. I knew something about the massage parlours, but he assured me that I didn't have to be a pro. All I had to do was answer the telephone and I'd earn at least $150 a week. So naturally I took it. But I found out after I got there that if you don't have sex with your clients, you earn approximately $3 a week. So after that I realised that I couldn't live on $3 a week, so I thought, well, what the hell, nobody's going to know about it. So I started becoming what was a little bit higher up than a street girl. I was a prostitute. Massage parlours are clean, which is something that if you're working on the street you can't always guarantee. They're well run. There's always somebody there in case you have trouble. But soon, about 6 months after I started working there, the new laws came into New South Wales and the massage parlours were all shut down by the Vice Squad. This left me in a position where I had to have money, and the only way to get it was by working on the street. So I left the massage parlours. Just have to get a cigarette. Working on the street's a lot different to working in a massage parlour. When you work on the streets, you have to have somewhere of your own to take your customers. The Cross provides for this, however, because they've got more private hotels than they've got anything else. Sometimes you're charged anything up to about $8 just for 20 minutes or so. It's clean on the street. The only VD really that is around is from the 16-year-old, 17-year-old young girls that come into the Cross. And, well, they're unclean anyway. They've been brought up in unclean homes. They sleep around with everyone, not for money. This is how the VD gets around, not by the pros, because 90% of pros have a checkup at least once a week. And if the police catch you without a certificate clearing you of VD, you're in very serious trouble, so you just can't afford not to have one. As far as the customers go, I'd say most of them treat you pretty well, although you do meet the one or two odd characters. But even though the majority of them are happily married, they can't get perverted sex out of their wife, so that's what they want the pro for. And by perverted, I mean they like to be whipped or kicked or bitten. When I say being a prostitute's a hard life, I mean not only do you have to put up with the scorn of society, but you also get one or two customers that don't treat you exactly like a lady, if you could call pros ladies. I've had customers in my own personal experience that have pulled out knives to try and get their money back. In one incident with an R&R guy, he wanted me for the night, so I agreed to go back to his motel. And when I got back to his motel and asked him for the money, instead of the money I got a gun. And he was quite intent on shooting me, fortunately. It went on for about 2 hours, him holding me hostage, and then a car pulled up and slammed the door. And he got put off his guard a little bit. And with that, I took the opportunity to push him over, and I ran. I got outside and I headed for the lift. I got into the lift, pressed the door shut just as he came, and I pressed the ground floor button. And it was one of those motels where the ground floor button ended up in the basement, the car park. I got out of the lift, and as I got out of the lift, the door shut and the lift went back up, and he was coming down the stairs. It was pitch dark, and I couldn't find the lights. I could hear somebody coming down the stairs. There was no lift. All I could do was hide under the cars. So I hid under the cars. He came down, heard me move, and took a pot shot at me. I was terrified, you know. Thought I'd better start saying my last prayers and Holy Communion. But he tripped over something and I ran up the stairs. He wasn't far behind me, I might add, either. But he couldn't see me until I got onto the street, and then he started taking pot shots at me. Fortunately for me, some people came along, and a few minutes later the shore patrol came along and went looking for him. They found him, but there wasn't any charges pressed because, funnily enough, he was a bit insane. I never would have known it if somebody hadn't told me. Also, it's very hard to be a pro on the police point of view because they give you a fairly good go, but if ever you decide to give it up, it's virtually impossible because once you're known to them, they just keep arresting you every time they see you. If they see you in a club or anything, they just cause a scene and say that you're a known prostitute, which can be very embarrassing. 90% of all pros are lesbians that I know of. I suppose this is because they haven't got any respect for men. They don't get any satisfaction out of having sex with men because they do it every night of the week. It's the same as if you eat steak 7 nights a week. If you go out for tea, you don't want steak. It'd be the same sort of thing, I should imagine. Although myself, I'm not a lesbian. I gave up being a pro a long time ago, and I'd never go back to it now. Although at first it was so, you wouldn't believe how hard it was to give it up. Every time I'd walk through the streets of Sydney, not the Cross, but Sydney itself, the main streets of the daytime to do some shopping, a police car would go past me, recognise me, stop, pull me up and arrest me for prostitution. Even though I had a job, I let them check up on the job. They still swore black was blue. A pro never gives it up. Perhaps a lot of pros don't. Possibly they're the reason why she doesn't. A lot of girls try this but end up having to go back on the streets to pay their fines, which I don't think is very fair. Once you're a pro, you can never ever go anywhere in Australia without being recognised. If you go to Melbourne, you always run into somebody that knows you. And this is the hardest part, because you go somewhere to make a new life for yourself and you fail to tell the new people that you meet that you have been a pro. Sure enough, along comes someone that knows you. They tell everybody that you used to be a pro. Before you know where you are, nobody even wants to speak to you. Although I don't know why, because although a pro is supposed to be a hard mole, she isn't really. A pro's heart's softer 90% of the time than anybody else's that I know. Not very many pros give up their children. They work day and night to support their children and give them the best of everything, which is more than I can say for some girls that sleep with every Tom, Dick and Harry, have a baby every year and just give them up, couldn't care less. I'm one of the lucky ones because I've made a new life for myself. I'm in love now and I'm to be married shortly. My husband-to-be knows about my past and accepts this. And with his help, I'm sure that I will never go back to the life I used to lead. It's hard for the first 6 months, but after that, you've made it, and it's such a good feeling to know that you've got out of the rut you're in by yourself. You won't get any help from anyone if you are a pro. You try to get out of it, so don't expect it. It's hard and you have to do it yourself. There's a lot of heartbreak trying to get out of it, but once you're out of it, it's well worth it. People forget.